Hey, everybody. This is Bob Starkey here, host of Dad Bod Walking, the Northern Front Edition. This is my exercise here with the WJOB Podcast Network. These will be housed on the WJOB YouTube page. They will also be broadcast on 1230 AM, 104.7 FM out of rustic Hammond, Indiana. Each one of these episodes are going to be 15, 20, 25 minutes long, and it's going to cover a topic that at the time I felt was worthy of discussion. And one I want to go over today is that as much as we all rally around Democrats, Republicans, whatever your flavor may be, on national level issues, something that impacts your daily life is municipal government. Now, today, this is being recorded on Sunday, December 28th, and we had just had a couple real bad rainstorms come through here. And, some of you are, following Paul Goddard on Facebook, and Munster, Cherville, St. John, everybody's out there, attempting to unclog drains and deal with. I think we got something here in St. John where the my studio's Montfort Landing is. Name of the studio, by the way, is we got about just shy of 4 inches in about 3 hours. And I am not a stormwater expert by any means. I have served on a stormwater board in a couple different municipalities. I am on the town council here in Dyer, so we're constantly getting reports from them. But I'm by no means an expert. But I will say this: there are very few systems, especially up here in Northwest Indiana, where when the conditions are right and you're getting an inch or an inch plus per hour, at some point the system is going to become overwhelmed and you are going to get water in the streets. Now, for those folks that will call and complain and say, oh, all the municipalities are bad, let me first start off by saying most roads are designed to keep water in them. And what happens when you have nice curbs and the water's in? That means the water then is not in your house. Now, at some point, the water will crest the curb and it will go into your house, but that is a huge, huge, huge stopgap between the rainwater getting into your basement. Is designing the roads so that they hold water. And so I'm here today in St. John, just down the street from the studio. The road was flooded. We're talking mid calf deep. I mean, it was pretty deep, almost to the point where if you were wearing rain boots, they were coming in the boots. And so I'm out there with a handful of neighbors from down the street. And we are working hard to rake the leaves off of the storm grates because the water's just rushing down. We're, raking and trying to get all the leaves and debris that naturally come whenever there's a hard rain. You're going to have leaves, you're going to have branches and twigs and all sorts of stuff that, the water makes it all congregate right over the grate. And at some point it stops. And so you need to clear that out of there. And I'm out there working with some of these neighbors, and I tell you what a great community feeling is. Everybody puts everything aside, much like when there's a blizzard and everybody's shoveling, themselves out, their neighbors out, or whenever there's something, and to see people come together on some type of level, and for the neighborhood is really a great thing to see and a great thing to be a part of. I want to give a shout out to St. John Public Works. They come out there and like the rest of us, we've been out there working for an hour or so attempting to clear the mud and the muck. And they roll up, and it's clear that they've been out for a while, and that they will continue to be out for a while. But they come and they lend their expertise, and they shift this and move that, and pop this and pop that, and it really was incredible to see them come out on a Sunday afternoon and clear that out for the residents that needed that. And as soon as they were done, as soon as the water started whirlpooling down the grates, they said, "All right, if you guys keep an eye on this, and we'll head to the next street." And off they went, off to the next street. And I'm sure they did the same thing there, and then off to the next street. And what we tend to say when we're, when I've got my official hat on and I'm talking to, residents and dyers, look, we can't be everywhere at all times. So that's one of the perks of living in a municipality, is that it's not so over-governed. You're not so overtaxed by having a one public works person per every single house. See, you can't do that. We have the people we have to maintain the systems that we have, but it's like a co-ownership of. I mean, you also live there, so if you look out your window and you see that there's leaves and debris all over the storm grate, take a rake, go rake out. Yes, you're going to get wet. I don't know what to tell you. Now, for some of those folks that maybe there's someone listening on here that says, "Well, I can't get around that well, and for me to, my leg hurts, I can't get out there." Well, I'm not talking about you, but I can't believe that there isn't somebody on your block that isn't capable of doing that. So, no, this isn't Bob coming on here saying, "Oh, old people need to go out there." No, but man, what's wrong with sending kids out there and scraping off the storm grates? What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is part of what I think folks have become so disillusioned with government that the assumption is that government should fix everything, and it really shouldn't. It really shouldn't. And today, in my estimation, in my 20-minute story time that I hear, I think government did exactly what it was supposed to do. It came in, it designed the roads, it designed the stormwater systems and the catch basin systems, and it set everything up for a wonderful life 90% of the time. Now, when you get these massive rains that no system can handle, 100-year rain doesn't mean it only rains like that once every 100 years. It's a different scale, like saying a light year. Well, a light year isn't a light year is a distance that light travels, and it's a whole thing. What I mean is, yeah, you may have 100-year rain a couple times a year, and it may happen, and that's rough, but the St. John government did exactly what it was supposed to do today. It had lined everything up, and then when there was a need, they came in, they helped the residents, and then they scooted. And I don't know how much more you could want from that. Now, you could argue something big right now, especially in Dyer and in St. John, I'm seeing a lot, is leaf pickup. I love being on the council in a community, and I love living in a community where the biggest crime things are, when the weather breaks, kids go tag a couple slides in the park. I love living in a town where the largest infrastructure issues are one or two potholes and leaf pickup. To me, that shows that, hey, you've got the major things out of the way. And so now the only thing left to lament about are some of the small things. And is it small if your basement floods? No, it didn't say that either. But the fact that leaf pickup, we all remember leaf pickup before, There was no such thing as leaf pickup. You would go to Ace Hardware or True Value, and you would spend, $5 for the 5-pack of brown bags because you couldn't put them in the garbage can. You couldn't do any of that stuff, and so you'd have to rake them. You have to put them in these little bags, and it was about the size of my head, the opening on these things, and that was a pain. And we did that for years and years and years. And then you would do that, and then you'd have to buy the sticker that you would then put the green sticker over it and all that stuff. And it was all on the resident. And at some point in time, these communities said, hey, we're going to buy a leaf vac truck, a big old vacuum, big old Hoover. It would just drive up and down the road and suck up all the leaves. That way, as a resident, to make things easier, all you have to do is bring the leaves out to the curb. Put them on the curb. Don't put them on the street, because when you put them on the street and it rains, because the streets are designed the way they are, they take those leaves and they drag them down the road and they put them in the storm grate. And so, municipalities have made things easier on folks, and it's like this sliding scale of convenience where, hey, now you don't even have to put them in a bag, just put them out front. We'll come up and rake them. So I don't know. Maybe this has turned into 20 minutes of Bob just venting about municipal things, and that's fine too. Who knows what you're going to get on this this Northern Front podcast that I don't know what we're trying to do, but really, leaf pickup is a great amenity that some municipalities offer, but not everything is perfect. And so when you have leaves start to fall, you have a major rain, which then puts all the leaves on the ground, and then you have a snowstorm, and then you have several snowstorms, and then you have a couple freezing events, and then you have more snow. We had more snow and ice in December of this year, from November until now, than we did the entire winter season last year. And for most of us around here, we don't you'll see some snow, but we really don't get into the thick of snow until January, February here. So for us to be having snow, through Thanksgiving, through the first part of December, is somewhat unusual. And these leaf vac trucks are amazing when the leaves are freshly raked and the leaves are dry. As soon as you start adding moisture, it adds weight to the leaves, and it's not going to suck that up. And then when you add all the snow and the ice, that's not going to go anywhere either. So I get the complaints of, oh, it's unsightly, they've been out there for a week. Yeah, but I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is you packing them up, putting them in a thing, putting them by the curb, put them in a bag, put them by the curb, and have them picked up with your garbage. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I understand the frustration, but every once in a while there's something that really jumps out on social media, and as an elected official, I'm thinking, really, that's what we're on about and the angst about. But it's things on social media catch on like wildfire. It was big in St. John. It was big in Munster and Dyer, certainly. That, hey, man, everybody who works for the town is garbage because my leaves haven't been picked up. And if I sound slightly defiant against the voters on that one, I do have to say our public works team does a tremendous job. I don't think the folks in Dyer knew that. We even had a crew go around kicking some of the leaves piles to find out where the routes are, because if they were frozen, wasn't even worth taking the truck down there. And again, here in St. John, would this have all been solved down here off of 85th? Would it have been solved? Yeah, it there probably would have been much less much less of an issue on some of these roads if the leaves weren't on the curbs, which then got pushed into the street, which then covered the grates, and then the rains came and the green grass grew all around and around. But having said that, sometimes things happen, and I think some folks just like a place to say, well, you did something wrong, and I would I would say, if you have a better idea, let us know. Um, and the better idea isn't, well, just have the crews out more. We can't have the crews out more. What are we going to run them 24/7 and pay so much overtime that your taxes do have to go up? No, we're not going to do that. Come on now. Just rake the storm grate and you'll be fine. Um, I don't know. Maybe that was too ranty. I certainly don't mean for this podcast to be ranty. You get enough of that watching everything else. The point of this was local government has a huge impact on your daily life. As much as you may want to watch CNN and think, oh, Biden this, oh, Trump that, it is really hard to think about that when you get in your car and you try to leave and you can't because the road is flooded. So then we have to think about, well, why is that? Well, because the leaves got on it and, but what was the solution? Neighbors were coming out, helping neighbors. Public Works showed up. Everybody came together. And within an hour, hour and a half of the flooding, the waters receded and, everything was fine again. I often ask for patience and for grace when we're doing something in the town. I say that folks who, right before your road gets redone, the only thing that will make you angrier than having a terrible road is the road construction it takes to make your road nice again. And so I'm often telling folks, hey, just give a little grace. We're all human. We're all out there trying to do the best. No, there's not a single public works crew out there, not a single elected official out there that's going around that has a can of leaves in the back of their pickup truck, finding a storm grate and dumping them on them, saying, I'm driving out. That's not happening. Everybody is really trying hard. And today I was out there with the Public Works team from St. John. Everybody was completely soaking wet. It was so, I got back to the garage. I took my boot off and I relatively new jeans, nothing fancy, just new jeans. The water that came out of the boot was dyed blue from my jeans because they were just so waterlogged. And so, that was, we were all wet. And, we did it for all the neighbors. I don't know. It was really nice to be a part of something that everybody came together for. The municipality was there, the neighbors were there, and I think that's the sign of a great community, is that you acknowledge that not everything's going to go right all the time, every minute of every single day. But when it does go sideways, that you want to live in a place that has good neighbors that's going to look out for you. They're going to take care of you. The street was only flooded in front of maybe 4 homes. But there were maybe 20, 30 homes this way, 20, 30 homes that way. And everybody and people come together, even if it wasn't in front of their house, people were helping because they realized that there was a greater good for their little community than perhaps just sitting inside. And that's not to say anything bad about those folks that just said, man, it is cold. I don't want to get wet. I get it. But for those that did come out and help, I just wanted to say thank you to them. Whether they ever watch this on YouTube or listen to this on, catch this on the radio is really neither here nor there. Everybody did a great job. And, that's my 20-minute shtick for today. How about that? We live in some amazing communities, and the smaller the government is, the better it works. The smallest unit of government is the family. That's the smallest unit of government, is the family. And I got to tell you, from the unit of government, if we're going to use that analogy, of just this street, this block, this neighborhood got together with someone from the big, the bigger municipality, St. John, they send some help, and we all work together. My gosh. There wasn't a single person out there being a keyboard warrior trying to point out, haha, you did something wrong. Because you know what? We see that a lot. We all see it. We acknowledge it. Yes, I see your posts, most of them on Facebook. Sometimes I don't even go on there. I see them. I don't have the answer to everything. And I would caution anybody following, anybody living that says I've got all the answers, just vote for me, because I call bull on that one. But that's my story. Smaller government, better government. Thanks again to the St. John Public Works for coming out on a Sunday and helping us out. Again, I did see Paul Goddard out there taking some pictures or posting pictures on, I don't know if it was the Region News Source or his subscription site. Paul, if you watch this, let me know which one, or I can go look later. Munster was out. I think there was. I think what he did was he did a call out for folks to send in their pictures, and Cherville's out. Public Works, PD, everybody's out because everybody locally is just trying to do the right thing. It's just trying to help. So let's be proud that we live in communities where we see that. And if you don't feel like you live in a community where neighbors help out, where the police and the public works, and if they're not doing that for you, be that change. If you look outside and you think, here's a great story. Final story. I'll wrap up with this. And there's a I don't know if it's a story or an allegory or whatever you want to call it, but here's the thing. So if you get up in the morning and you drive past a park, and the park is so overgrown that the weeds are everywhere. It's not been cut. It's nobody seems to do anything, and you think, man, that looks bad. That looks bad. Week later, you drive past again, and you look, and it's still the same. Man, somebody should really do something about that. And, another week goes by, and you drive past, and it's even worse. It's so overgrown. The fence is starting to fall over, and you keep saying, why isn't somebody doing something about that? As Bob Starkey, I have my own faith, my own relationship with faith and religion. But in those instances, I think, is that maybe not God saying, well, you're the person I'm putting in front of that park. You have seen the slow decline of that park. You need to do something about it. I have put you in front of that park every day to see what happens when things go unkempt. So fix it. So if you're not feeling pride in your community, that you have neighbors that are that would help you out, if you don't feel that you're not getting those things, be those things. If you're noticing that, hey, I notice nobody in my neighborhood ever rakes those storm grates, go rake them. Go be that person. Then maybe you will be the inspiration for others. So, thanks for joining me. That's all I've got today. I'm going to go dry off a little more because I still think I'm waterlogged. All right, everyone. Thanks again. Thank you for joining me here on Dad Bod Walking, the Northern Front Edition, and I will catch you next time.